Hello everyone. I'd like to tell you about the film I saw on Sunday about the evacuees leaving London on the 3rd of September 1939, and it reminded me that I was one of those. And although I was only a baby, I assume that that's the day that I left with my parents as well to go to the country. And the sight of all those poor little children leaving with their little suitcases and their gas masks and going to live with strangers in the country for the duration of the war was rather upsetting. But I was lucky because I had relatives, family in the West Country. So my mother must have taken me on that day, I assume. And so while we were there, though, our parents only came to see us very infrequently, about a couple of times a year. And most of the children, of course, were older, so they had a good time in the country because some of them had never seen sheep or cows or anything like that before. Anyway, we led a normal life, and I had my time between my two families, and of course the GIs were stationed there, and my aunt, who was only a teenager at the time, she got friendly with them, and of course it was very intriguing to see them giving her chocolates and gum and nylon stockings, so her and her friends were delighted about it. And when we went to the grocery shop shopping, there wasn't much that was pre-packed like it is now. I mean, for instance, sugar, tea, flour, anything like that was just weighed up and put in the bag for you. And also butter and cheese would come in a slab, and that was just cut off and wrapped in greaseproof paper and put in a paper bag for you. So everything was very simple then. No package wasting then. And also, you couldn't have chicken all the time like we do now. Chicken was for only very special occasions, like birthdays or perhaps at Easter time. And so things were very simple then. And I remember just having mainly, I think it was stews and rice pudding. And the occasional sponge cake and jam sandwiches for tea. Anyway, quite apart from that, life was very simple for children. I mean, the great thing was Saturday morning pictures, which we went to every Saturday, and that was sixpence. And then in the week, if there was a good film on, we would go and see that. And then later on, there were dancing lessons, and that was okay. And then obviously there was the Girl Guides and the Brownies. So we just made our own fun. And in the summer you could go over the park and stay out all day and just come home for your meals, and everything was so safe.
There's your ration spread out in all its glory.
That's your ration for the week. There's no more.
That's the same?
That's the lot.
Well, what am I supposed to do with that?
What you like?
But after the war, we still were short of food. There was still a bit of rationing going on. And although I don't remember much about that, I do remember that we lived a few doors away from a fish and chip shop. So that was handy. We could have 3 penny worth of chips, and I think it was sixpence for fish, enough for 3 of us. And also there's a cooked meat shop down the road, and my mother used to send me with 2 basins. She said, get 3 penny worth of faggots and 3 penny worth of pease pudding, and it filled up each bowl, and it was enough for our supper for 3 of us, which was really lovely and tasty, and I still like faggots to this day.
Well, I think it's simply disgusting. Give us a faggot and pease pudding like they did in the olden days, then we've got something to say.
And of course people didn't have phones in their houses in those days. And if you did want to phone up your work or anywhere, you had to put in the money, and if they answered, you'd press button A, and if they didn't answer at the other end, you'd press button B and get your money back. I mean, what a change from now. This great invention where you can carry phones about all the time, which is absolutely marvellous. The other amusing thing was when I went to get my school uniform at the shop, they didn't have conventional tills. They'd put the money in this metal container, and it was attached to a wire, and it would whiz along through the shop to some office somewhere, and back would come the change in the same way. I used to love going in there just to watch that. And it's now in the museum, which I expect they had them in shops all over the country then.